Hey guys, Spence here, and this is Battlerite. This game was made and released by Stunlock Studios, who you might have heard of if you happen to play the Dead Island Epidemic game, Bloodline Champions, which this game is heavily based off of, but heavily reworked, and a thing called Project O that I never heard of before. About last month they started tossing out beta keys, and now they're out on Steam in early access. Now, as an early access game, a lot of this stuff is subject to change, so, keep that in mind. But in the meantime, what exactly is going on in Battlerites? There's no real plot here, at least not one conveyed yet, so you don't really know if these battles are to settle diplomatic disputes, or for the entertainment of the masses, or both. So you probably shouldn't concern yourself with the circumstances of these conflicts.
Bullet for victory.
I have seen the stars.
Mind and body warmed up. Spear sharp.
When you're on the battlefield, your goal is very simple. Kill the enemy team, and that's really about it. Now before you go into the battlefield, you have to select your champion, and there's a good amount of champions to choose from. They're separated into 3 different categories: melee, range, and support champions. Now they all act the way you would suspect, except for the fact that all champions are capable of offensive output. Even the most support-oriented champion like Pomela can dish out a good amount of damage if the enemy team gets absent-minded and lets her. There are 15 champions so far, and they're all different in how they go about doing their thing. Getting into skirmishes while playing the ranged champion Jade is different from getting into skirmishes with the range-oriented champion Taya. There is some skill carryover, but it's really fundamental stuff, like being able to aim, position yourself well, and prioritizing the right targets. Control-wise, this is a computer twin-stick shooter, so expect WASD to move around, your mouse cursor to manage your facing, and your skills to be tied to the left and right mouse buttons, along with Q, E, F, R, and the shift key to toggle your EX abilities. Now, like most MOBAs, your skills are restricted by cooldowns, but some are restricted by extra credentials, namely your super meter. This meter builds up as you do damage or heal yourself or allies. By building this up, you can use certain moves, namely your semi-ultimate, your ultimate, and those EX abilities that I mentioned earlier. EX moves are more or less side graves of your current moves, just different. They cost a quarter of your super gauge, but they're very easy to forget, so try to keep them in mind. Then there's your semi-ultimate, which also takes a quarter of your meter, but they're entirely different skills. Then there's your ultimate, which will take all of your meter and will have a very heavy impact on the game, assuming you use it correctly. Right now, there are 15 champions currently, and there are only 3 real modes: 3v3, 2v2, and versus the AI, with the victory conditions being the same with each. The first team to win 3 rounds is victorious. Between each round, every player gets to choose a particular trait for their particular champion. Every champion have their own set traits for whatever round it is in the game. So comebacks are very much so a thing in this game, as characters start to do more damage and gain new abilities as the rounds progress. In general, the gameplay is very fast-paced, very involved, and very fun, especially if you can get a friend or two to get involved with you. Another thing I really like about the game is the fact that you don't have to grab like 4 to 5 people to play a game with you if you want to fill out your team in this. As I bet a lot of you already know how playing online competitive games with random people is. And because you're grabbing 1 or 2 people, it's not as bad as scenarios like in League where you have to find 4 people, or Overwatch where you have to find 5. Oh boy, that's a nightmare. But like I said, this style of PvP is definitely aimed at you if you have a hard time having a lot of your friends' schedules mesh at the same time. Now the cash shop and microtransactions. Haha, micro. There is good news and then there's bad news. The good news is, it's all strictly cosmetic. You can't buy any power whatsoever in this game. Heck, you can't even buy EXP boosters. Like that would do you any good anyway. So no, that's not a problem. The bad news is everything else. In the game, there are 2 currencies that you obtain. Gold coins you get for playing the game, and occasionally you get this weird greenish blue premium currency. If you want to buy a very particular customization item, you will have to spend the premium currency, which comes at such a slow rate, chances are you won't be buying anything outside of like the 1 low costing item, at least low in comparison to everything else. But if you want to get customizations the other way, you can use loot chests. They come in 2 variants, silver and gold, but you can only buy gold chests because having to work for silver chests would be downright insane. So you might be wondering, do these chests work exactly like the loot boxes in Overwatch? And the short answer is yes. You open these chests and they will give you 3 random items. These things can be avatars for your little icon, weapons for characters that yes are locked to their individual characters that they're for obviously, along with outfits and mounts. But if you're short some gold coins, you can shell out actual money! So you mean to tell me, of all the good game design decisions you can learn from Overwatch, you take the one worst thing about it, not only this, but for an early access game that you have to buy to get into anyway for the chance to get a digital item and another thing. I don't think a loot box system should exist in any video game whatsoever. I understand they need to make money, I understand this is not a perfect world, but I stand by what I said. In their defense, silver chests are guaranteed to give you one rare item, and gold chests are guaranteed to give you one epic item. So there is a lower chance of chests being filled with garbage as opposed to loot boxes in Overwatch. That's the only defense I'll give them. Presentation wise, when it comes to the visual style of the game, nothing really stands out to me. Every character looks like the sort of character you expect to see in a MOBA, or you can draw analog to them, but at this point it's kinda hard not to. The arenas look fine, the UI looks fine for the most part, except for one area that should be a button but isn't a button, at least not obviously. And the effects for the special attacks are big and flashy, so they're easy to identify in the heat of combat, so all things considered, the presentation works. When it comes to the options menu, you have more than enough options. You can rebind all of your keys, you can change your resolutions and the effects going on, but the game specs are pretty darn low, at least by today's standards, so as long as your rig isn't that old, you should be able to run it. So that's Battlerite in a nutshell. If you ever wanted a game that tried to focus on the team fighting aspects of MOBAs like you expect to find in League of Legends, Dota 2, and Smite, this is the closest thing you're going to get, and I mean that in a positive way, albeit in a twin-stick shooter package. The game succeeds in a lot of fronts in regards to its gameplay and how everything is laid out, with the only real problem I can find being those blasted loot chests. Ugh. But the big thing for me is that the game took away a lot of aspects of MOBAs that I really didn't like, that I admittedly accepted over time, but I still didn't like them in the long run. Like having to farm, the absurd match links, all the laning and buying stuff, and the builds. Okay, there are still builds, but it's not nearly as convoluted. So in short, if you want a team-oriented action game that requires some coordination, but doesn't require a whole lot of people to play it with, then this is definitely something to consider trying out.
The realm is peaceful.
Hello again, thanks for watching. If you happen to like this sort of content, drop a like, comment, subscribe, and maybe tell a friend who also be interested in this sort of content, and drop any criticism in the comment section, because I need those. In the meantime, you can click on the left annotation and see the last thing I did, talking about Halcyon 6. If you like Star Trek and permadeath games like XCOM, Darkest Dungeon, Massive Chalice, and things like that, you'll really be into this. On the other hand, if you want another twin-stick online shooter that requires a lot of cooperation, I recommend Helldivers. You can click on the right annotation to see my opinion on that.
Ultimate ready.
It's high noon.
Multi-kill.
Someone call the Undertaker.